working through LSAT practice questions and wondering, how would a real lawyer answer these questions? Or how can I improve and get better at answering these questions? If that's what's going on through your mind, then you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'll be going through a logical reasoning sample LSAT question and explaining to you how I, as a real-world lawyer, would solve this question. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Pamela Metani. I'm the principal lawyer and founder here at Graphene Business Law, a law firm offering services virtually throughout Ontario, Canada, and offering services exclusively to entrepreneurs and business owners. After all, our firm is called Graphene Business Law, and our slogan is all business all the time. If you're new to the channel, you should know that we do post a student series here as well. We regularly post content that would help students, get through law school a little better. And this is our first ever video of a new series that's been requested on the channel, and that's LSAT help, okay? So, also, before we start, don't forget to click on the subscribe button down below and give this video a big thumbs up. Now, as I mentioned, this is part of a new series for us. So I'm going to be starting section by section. We're going to do the logical reasoning, the critical reading, all of that. We're going to go through all of those video by video. So each video will be one question. And in true spirit of, being a lawyer and a business lawyer and having that sense of, being a very practical person, we're going to start at the beginning. As you know, there's 4 levels of difficulty to LSAT questions, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a level 1 logical reasoning question. Because if you can't ace the level 1s and do them in your sleep, there's no point in practicing a level 2, let alone 3 or 4. I'm going to be posting the question now on the screen. You should see it in front of you now. This question was from a free LSAT practice question type of website. It's a real question from a real test, I believe from some years ago. Okay, so this question happens to be a justify the conclusion question within the logical reasoning umbrella. And as you can see at the very top, difficulty level is easy because, as I mentioned, I want to start, starting with first principles as a business lawyer and business owner is a fundamental concept of moving forward for me. So let's read the question. A test that examines people on their memory capacity for spatial layouts has placed Jason in the top 1% of all test takers. Now, the fluff in here, the things that they want you to choke on is the spatial layouts, like all these, big words. Who cares? Who cares what spatial layouts are? You don't need to know that concept. Again, I'm thinking out loud here, right? So you're watching me answer this question in real time. I haven't looked at the question before. So I don't care what spatial layouts are. Of all test takers, okay, somewhat relevant, but big picture of the sentence is guy good at memory capacity, okay? How good? 1% good, top 1%. Second sentence, we can conclude from this that his memory capacity for things that do not involve spatial layouts will be below average. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do here, because LSAT is math, okay? I have another video on this channel that I'll post up on the box here, up on the video, that's called Law School is Not Hard, It's Math. LSAT is math to hell and back, okay? So what are the common denominators between these sentences? And notice, I'm literally using mathematical language. Memory capacity comes up in both, okay? And then what else comes up in both? Some sort of measure. So sentence 1, memory capacity, common denominator, top 1 percentile. Sentence 2, memory capacity, common denominator, the differentiating aspect is below average. Okay. Conclusion follows logically if which of the following is assumed. I better have the answer in my mind before I even look at this. Otherwise, these 5 options, you bet that LSAT is going to throw options here just meant to trip me out, okay? So before I even read the answers, and I swear to you, I'm not looking down on the screen, I know that the answer is going to have something to do, first of all, with the words memory capacity, like that's going to be there in the answer because it's the math. It came up in both sentences. And second of all, something, relative, some measured type of aspect, right? Because we have top 1 percentile, then we have below average. So, number 1, Jason, or A, I should say. Let's go into look at the answers now. Look for the answer that we know is correct, right? So notice the approach. I'm not reading these from scratch thinking, which one could convince me? I'm going into them thinking, I know what the answer is, right? We just went over it. Which one of these matches my thinking that I know is damn good thinking? So A, Jason tried hard to remember spatial layouts. Why would that not be it? First of all, it mentions nothing about the common denominator of the question, which is memory capacity. So there's the math aspect. Second of all, on a human perspective, I don't know if he tries hard or he's born naturally smart or if he tried semi-hard. Like, I don't know anything about his efforts, okay? That's not it. Jason has a greater proclivity to remember spatial layouts than most people. Okay, proclivity, big word. You know, I find a lot of times when you see those words, they're meant to choke you up a little bit, and they're picking on that, you know, inferiority complex, if you will, that they know you're going to have as somebody struggling to, you know, improve your life and get somewhere better and enter this big shark tank of lawyers. So you might think, man, I'm so stupid, I don't know this word, the guy next to me knows it, like, ugh, this is probably it, if only I was smart enough to know this word. This is gonna get you down that spiral, you know, rabbit hole of negative thinking. But back to earth, you know, back to first principles, memory capacity doesn't come up here. So I rule it out on the math aspect alone, okay? But at the same time, I don't know if, you know, proclivity to remember, you know, I don't know if it's proclivity to remember, I don't know what enables him to remember better than most people, but I do know it's not B. C, it's possible for Jason to improve through practice and effort his, ding ding ding, memory capacity for things that do not involve spatial layouts. Why did I ding? Well, I dinged because we see the common denominator here. Does that mean that this is the right answer? No, because if you look down, D has memory capacity as word 3 and 4, and E has memory capacity as almost, you know, the second last couple of words in that sentence, okay? So it doesn't mean that this is it, but you can tell that our theory that memory capacity is going to be somewhere in the answer, you know, is now coming to fruition. We're getting to test results with that word. Okay, so where were we? Possible for Jason to improve through practice and effort his memory capacity for things that don't involve spatial layouts. This might actually kind of get you, and I think there's a theory out there that the longest answer sometimes is correct in LSAT, so I think I've heard of that strategy. But then, you know, when you know from practice that this answer happens to be long but is not correct, you don't need to pick it. And how do you know that this happens to be long but is not correct? Okay, because yes, to be fair, the math is now starting to show up a little bit. We see the memory capacity. It's possible for Jason to improve through practice and effort. That part is the part that's like neither heard nor seen before, you know, anywhere in this question. We know, or we're told that we can conclude, right? We're trying to justify the conclusion here, bridge the gap. We're told that Jason didn't do as well as some other people when it came to measures of spatial, not involving spatial layouts. However, do I know if he can improve this? No, I don't. You know, God forbid, Jason could have a brain damage, which makes it impossible for him to improve his memory capacity for things that don't involve spatial layouts. And he can and will never improve, right? I have no, this is sort of a stealthy version of A, right? Like irrelevant. So I have no information on his ability to improve there. I don't. Just as how I didn't have any information when it came to A on why Jason was so good with things that, you know, did have to do with spatial layouts. So actually, I'm going to skip C. Or not skip it, but I have a gut feeling it's not it. But, you know, I'm going to skip it in the sense that I'm shelving it as a no. But let me see what else is here. Total memory capacity of the human brain is fixed and equal for all people. Fixed and equal for all people. What, you know, again, we see memory capacity here, right? So on the mathematical front, there's some hope here. Now let's read the rest of two things we know from the two sentences in the justify the conclusion question. One was that his memory capacity for spatial layout stuff is top 1 percentile. The second sentence is that we can conclude, so it's definitive within the world of this question only, that memory capacity for stuff not having to do with spatial layouts will be below average. I mean, what we're kind of, you know, what the question's kind of hinting at, remember we said we can infer from this that memory capacity will be in the answer and some sort of measure, some sort of, you know, relevant measure will be. Well, we can infer from the question that the sum of knowledge or the sum of memory capacity Jason possesses when it comes to spatial and non-spatial layouts is coming out of the same pie, if you will. And D tells us exactly that. The total memory capacity of the human brain is fixed and equal for all people. So if that's the case, we know it bridges these two sentences together. First of all, the memory capacity is there, and that passes on the mathematical front, if you will. And second of all, if it's fixed and equal, our two statements up top are telling us that because he's really good at this one thing having to do with a part of the brain, he's not going to be so good at the other thing having to do with the same part of the brain, right? So it's a zero-sum game. They're coming out of the same picture. And that's exactly what D is telling us, that his capacity for memory within this part of the brain is fixed, okay? And it goes on to say equal for all people. So that's exactly the math photo we have, above in the conclusion we're trying to justify. E, some people have a greater memory capacity than others. Now, I'm going to give you a tip for time purposes in LSAT. When you do find the right answer, I personally, as a lawyer, would move on. However, I know some people like the feel-good bit that comes from reading all the options and sort of like, if E totally sucks, we're all that much more sure that D was the right answer. So what does E say? Some people have a greater memory capacity than others. Total junk, total junk. It's true that the memory capacity bit comes up, so, on the mathematical prism, it flags a little bit. It might give us some hope, but we're not talking about memory capacity overall here. Jason hasn't tested in any way, any sort of percentile for memory capacity, en masse. He's tested for special segments of memory capacity. So this sort of, oversimplifies the question, and it's so broad to the point where it's just irrelevant, okay? So I'm gonna lock in D, and when I do that, I'm putting up the next slide here. Not surprisingly, it tells us that we were correct. What is shocking to me? It's that, as a lawyer trying to sniff out what other people might be falling for, I would have guessed that many would have fallen for C, like I said, because it's a longer question and it has to do, memory capacity is in there, but it is shocking to me that most people, according to this graph, failed on B, because B doesn't even have the memory capacity terminology that was necessary for us to see in an answer. So I am shocked by that. I'm gonna put up here on the screen now, if I click one other page, it's gonna tell me in this company's words why each option is incorrect, okay? I'm not gonna go over this. I'm gonna pause this here, or I should say you can pause this here to read over these options and see how they align with what I've just said. At the end of the day, the premise of this video was for a real life lawyer, I'm a practicing lawyer, to go through the LSAT questions and pick, the lawyer's brain, in this case, my brain, as to how I would answer a question. So I don't feel it's fair that I go through the company reasons, if you will, because that's not me and I'm not them, okay? And that could get you, you're welcome to compare the way they thought with the way I thought, but the way they thought is not authentic to me, and I don't want to influence my answer based on what they thought. I answered this question, how I would answer it if the sheet of paper was literally in front of me and I was doing the test right now, and you have my reasons. You can rewind the video. The math part is key. It is so key. Remember that common denominator, memory capacity showed up in both sentences. That part is key. And then the question, comes, or if you want to word it alternatively, we know the answer is going to have to do in part with what's happening as regards this memory capacity. What's the missing link with the 1 percentile and the below average, okay? And question G did a good job of resolving that link. I don't think it's a perfect answer, I'll tell you that actually, but is it better than the other totally irrelevant options? Yes, it is. So there you have it, how a lawyer would answer an LSAT question. In this case, we started with logical reasoning, difficulty level easy. Next time I'll see you, I'll do the difficulty level number 2, okay? Because I know there's like, we've actually heard from a few students to do these kind of videos, and I hope it was helpful to one human on planet Earth, okay? Thank you for watching. Again, please go ahead and feel free to subscribe and click the like button down below. We do regularly post content here on this channel, like I mentioned. that is relevant to, of course, our, business demographic, if you will, our client demographic of business owners and entrepreneurs, but also because law school has such a soft spot in my heart, we do regularly post content for law students as well. And if you're a business owner that's made it all the way to the end of this video for some reason, well, I thank you. And I remind you that you can contact us at our website, graphenebusinesslaw.ca, and of course our welcome email, which is info@graphenebusinesslaw.ca. Thank you for watching.